Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. Now today I'm going to be talking about the upcoming fight between Jake Paul and Tommy Fury. Now, who do I think is going to win? Well, it's going to be Jake's toughest fight yet. I don't think we should discount Tommy's skill. He's not the best boxer by any means. He's not his brother, Tyson, but he is still dangerous, especially for Jake, who, despite his emphatic wins against credible guys like Tyron Woodley and Anderson Silva, still hasn't proven himself fully against a full-time professional boxer. Tommy, whilst he's not levels in the professional scene, he is that. It will be the toughest test that Jake's had. Tommy has amateur experience, he's been in a fighting family his entire life, he's probably grown up fighting since he was about 5 or 6 years old up until now, so he should have much more knowledge of the sport and a better technique and idea for the sport than Jake, you would think. But have we seen that? Well, I'm going to go through some of Tommy's fight highlights and some of Jake's fight highlights and talk about some of the strengths and weaknesses that both are showing and ultimately who I think will win that fight. And it may just be closer than everyone is giving Tommy credit for. Let's go. So, first we're going to look at Tommy Fury. How good is Tommy? Just how good is he? It's a question that everyone's had for a while. It's a question we've had about Jake, but now that Jake is fighting Tommy, it's going to become inevitable. How good actually is Tommy? Because every guy that Jake faces after the fact, it's always a question of, well, how good were they? With Anderson Silva, well, he was old. With Tyron Woodley, he was old and retired, and his main background really was wrestling, let's be honest. Anderson Silva is the first proper striker that Jake's faced, but it's not in boxing. He comes from MMA, and people can say, yes, well, he fought Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. Yeah, he did, but again, it was two old, past it guys going at it, and Anderson happened to get the better of him. And Anderson's not bad, he's not a bad boxer, but he's not great, and Jake happens to be younger, faster and stronger. I said Jake will win that fight. I know people like Wade were giving Anderson a lot of credit, and fair play, Anderson showed a lot of heart. He stayed in the fight, didn't get knocked down. He got caught clean on the chin in the last round, put him down, and it could have gone a lot worse if he'd have kept that mentality throughout the entire fight of going out there to hurt Jake. That's what he was doing. He had to go out there, he knew he was losing the fight, he had to go out there and put Jake down or knock him out. And so he left himself open. And when he left himself open, he got caught. And he got put down because we know Jake has power. But all of that aside for now, we're going to go through and watch Tommy Fury versus Jordan Grant. Now, this is why I think it's Tommy's best fight to review. It's because most of Tommy's fights, let's be honest, are cherry-picked. Like Jake's, don't get me wrong, Jake isn't, fighting every guy who's calling him out, because if he fought every guy who's calling him out, eventually he's going to lose to someone. And he needs a credible name to draw views and attention, but he also needs someone who's not leaps and bounds ahead of him, because he needs to look good still. Because that's Jake's thing. He's a Mayweather. You want to see him lose, most people at least, want to see him lose at some point. They want to see him get beaten because he's arrogant. And so you watch to see him lose, and the moment he does, that goes away. That's why Floyd maintained his level of notoriety later on into his career, because he was undefeated, 50-0. And people were wanting to see that guy who could beat him. Wanted to see the money Mayweather get put on the ground. That's what a lot of people, including myself, I'll be honest, including myself, want to see from Tommy and Jake. They want to see Tommy put Jake down, or at least they want to see Jake on the canvas at some point in his fighting career. But I said that they were cherry-picked. Jordan Grant was cherry-picked. He was inactive for quite a while, I think about a year. He had 1 week notice, I think, and he came in rusty, let's be honest, but he came in game. He's not a bum. He's not a tin can. Jordan Grant came to win, and that's what you need. That's what impressed me about this fight, is that Tommy, for the first time really, we saw him tested and pressured and landed on like never before. And this Jordan Grant guy did a great job of boosting Tommy's level in a way that I don't think the Furies expected. So let's go through and react to some of the fight. And I'll go through and say what I see from Tommy that I think's good, what I see from Tommy that I think is bad. Ready? Let's go.
What Tommy can produce tonight.
So immediately you see Grant coming out and lands a nice right there on Tommy's head. This is something that I see from Tommy that I don't like, especially for against Jake, is that Tommy gets caught a lot, especially on the inside. When a guy's coming in, when he's trying to come in, he gets caught. And we see Jake, he loves to land that overhand right. If he can land that on Tommy, when Tommy's coming in, keeping his hands low, like we saw, let's go back and play it again. Grant missed there. Tommy fires a jab and gets caught with a right. Imagine that was Jake's. Different story then. Prepared Jake, different story. It's a different story. See Tommy's the taller fighter, but he struggles to keep that range. He's missing. Yeah, and you see this guy is rusty as hell. He's throwing shots wild, but he's coming forward and he wants to hurt Tommy. That's the important thing. It's the will and intentions. He's not a guy there to be beat. You're going to have to take it from him. This will be something as well that I think will be interesting to see against Jake. Will Tommy do well in the clinch? Because clinch work is a very important part of boxing. Clinching, I think, will be a very important factor in the Jake fight. If it happens. That's if it happens. It's a big if, because we know Tommy's reputation. But I think that is going to be a key factor in winning that fight, the clinch work. I think it's going to be key for Jake to maybe gain a rest in rounds, because I think Tommy might be trying to be pity-patty, dance around Jake a bit, be a bit more like Tyson in that sense, when Tyson wasn't sleeping guys like Wilder and White. Yeah, it is what it is. But Tommy is not Tyson. However, I think that he's going to try and emulate his brother and borrow a bit of that style, because we've seen a lot of the guys against Jake are older, slower. They seem to stay a bit more flat-footed. Anderson was the best in terms of footwork and movement, but still it wasn't amazing. And with a younger, fitter guy, we perhaps may see an improved technical performance from Tommy. Tommy might go to take it to points. And I think he might be smart to do that, because if he tries to get into a brawl with Jake, that's a bad idea. Because we've seen Jake does like to brawl. Against Tyron Woodley we saw he liked to brawl. But having said that, Jake equally should not want to brawl. Not too much at least. Because brawling and battling it out in the centre of the ring, rock'em sock'em style, it only leads to disaster. Either you hurt him or he hurts you. That's the only thing that comes from it. And sure, you might believe that you can hurt him more than you, and that might be true. But what if you're wrong? It's a big risk. It's a big, big risk. High reward, potentially, but also a very big risk. It kind of levels itself out. So brawl, yeah, brawl, and then have a break. Have a break. Just separate. Show off your technical ability like you did against Anderson. Show him shots from different angles. Push the pace. Let him push the pace on you as well. Maybe take the back foot once in a while. Try and land a counter. These are all things that Jake could utilise. We don't know what Jake's going to do. Is Jake going to continue to show different dimensions to his game? Is he going to try and land that big one punch? Or is he going to do against Tommy what he did to Anderson Silva, where he outpointed him? I think it would be tougher to outpoint Tommy than Anderson, I'll be honest. It is Anderson Silva, and striking comparability, Anderson is higher than Tommy, don't get me wrong, but in boxing sense, in the boxing world at least, Tommy, I would say, is higher in terms of technical skill, IQ, knowledge than Anderson in boxing, purely in boxing. If it's any other kind of striking, then Anderson clearly. But for boxing, Tommy should be a lot more knowledgeable and wise on what he should be doing in there than a guy who's trained the majority of his fight in a multitude of combat styles. So it's going to be interesting. Now let's go through later into the fight where it gets a bit more exciting, because it goes through the entirety of the rounds here. Tommy wins on a points decision. Let's just see what Tommy's doing in these later rounds and see how he holds himself. Now these might not be later rounds. I'm not sure what Tommy and Jake will fight at, if I say if they do fight, because Tommy has so far not shown up to anything that's been going on with their fight. But he's recently become a dad, and he says he's training, so we'll see. I think what he needs to do, one of the biggest things we see on screen here, his dad in his corner, I think one of the biggest things that Tommy could do to progress is, I love you, Big John, but get rid of him. Get rid of him. Because Big John is great. He's great, and in his heyday, I'm sure he was a formidable boxer himself. But Tyson doesn't use him, he uses a proper boxing coach. Why are you stuck with your dad? He's your dad and you love him and he's good and he's knowledgeable, yes, but why is he in the corner giving you advice? Your dad. Unless your dad is a legend in the sport, which, no offence, but Big John Fury is not a boxing legend. He's not an all-time great, is he? He was a self-admitted tin can. Well, he wasn't a tin can, but he was a journeyman. He's a journeyman like this Jordan Grant guy. He put it on you, and he might win, and he might shock everyone, but ultimately that's all he was. He was never going to be a top contender. And so when I see him in the corner giving Tommy advice, and Tommy having no one else there, I just don't know. I don't know. Hopefully he can wise up and he just needs to listen to someone who's actually done this, had experience with other fighters, proven that he can teach other people the sport of boxing, the knowledge that he has. And I don't think his dad has shown that. He's produced he's produced an amazing looking kid in Tommy, and he's produced an amazing boxer in Tyson. But that doesn't mean that he himself is a great boxing coach. You know? So I think another thing Tommy should do is get rid of Big John Fury if he hasn't already. So we're in round 4. Let's see how Tommy's doing. Both guys looking very eager to land. Oh, and Tommy catches a clean one there. And that was a beautiful jab on Tommy. Tommy hasn't really landed anything here that's made me, wow, look at him. This guy is a decent guy, he's got a good chin, he's got a good set of fundamentals on him. And he's making it hard work for Tommy. And Jake is proving time and time again that he's slowly but surely stepping away from that fundamental stage of boxing. Yes, he's still got things to work on, of course. Even pros still need to work on their fundamentals from time to time to just brush up on them. But he is proving with the levels of opponents that he keeps stepping up with. I know it's not leaps above each time, but he's making the steps in the right direction at least. That he is slowly but surely stepping out of that amateur stage that we see a lot of influencers start at. And I think that it might be an underestimation of Tommy. See there, Tommy gets landed on another right hand and his hands are low. Look at that. that counter, his hand is completely low right there. Massive miss. And if Jake can just take a little step back and land with a big right hand, straight, overhand, it doesn't matter. That'll put Tommy down. That put Tommy down. A nice little right left there. Whew. Let's see what he comes back with if he does. No. See, Jordan Grant backs away. I think that's where Jake could plant his feet. I think seeing that, Jake could do a little lean and return. Now, we've seen Tommy and we've talked through his fight. Let's talk through Jake's toughest fight, which is, of course, the legend Anderson the Spider Silva. Now, Anderson, I'm not going to lie, I was a little disappointed when I heard his name thrown out. He is a legend, of course, but we've seen legends get in there again after they're past it, and it's just not the same. Need I mention Evander Holyfield's name? What they did to Evander Holyfield, that was disgusting. And yes, Evander Holyfield is 60, but Anderson Silva's 47. The dude's 47. If you were to say, if you were to put a pro athlete that's way past it, like way past it, Anderson's, let's say his peak was around 30-ish. Let's say his peak's 30 to 33. That's his age, yeah? Anything past that, he's slowly ebbing out of his prime. 40 plus, you're dropping drastically out of your prime. By 50, by 55, you can claim fucking elderly benefits, for God's sake. You can claim on your pension. Jesus Christ. So, Anderson is... Anderson's 8 years away from claiming his pension, at least in the UK. But it's just, when people talk about Anderson as being the legend, you've got to take it with a pinch of salt. Yes, Anderson's a legend, but it's not the same as fighting Floyd Mayweather at 50, because Floyd Mayweather was made for boxing, and his style of boxing keeps him safe and smart up here. Anderson Silva's taken hits, big ones, and after a while, those hits do start to take a toll, and the age starts to take a toll. You can see he's just not quite as quick as he is. He's not quite as sharp as he was. I think a prime Anderson Silva probably takes Jake to the cleaners, but not a 47-year-old Anderson. And so yes, this is Jake's toughest fight, but like with Tommy, there are those slight little caveats that just make you question, how good is this kid? What happens when he faces a real formidable guy? So, that being said, let's go through, see what Jake did in this Anderson Silva fight that has now progressed him above these MMA fighters in a lot of people's views, including myself. I think if he was to ever fight an MMA fighter again, the MMA fighter would have to have quite a vast experience in boxing, have come from boxing into MMA, or maybe have had a lot of boxing training on the side of MMA. But we'll see. So far, he'll be fighting Tommy Fury, who is the most experienced in boxing he's ever faced, which is saying something. You know, I don't think... Let me know, does anyone in the comments, do you think that Tommy is... Do any of you think that Tommy is a prospect? A top prospect in the boxing space? Because I'd be very surprised if any of you do. So let's go through, let's do first round, last round. So you see Jake come out, very quick jabs, very snappy. But big right hand there, but it's blocked. And his hands are down when he tries to throw them. That's another thing. Answers the phone that time, licks the gloves. But there, in that clinch, we go back. Look, dipping the head down, and that right hand is here. Why is it not here? Why can't you twist that way? Twisting that way will get your hips ready, and you can follow through, drive through. I brought my hand down, but you get the idea. Keep it, and then you can drive through up. That's the shot you're throwing from there. If you're down here, you should be throwing your left, but you should be throwing that. because there's no other shot from down here that really works, is there? If I'm down here like that, but my fist is here, Jake's fist is here, so he's already got this hand here. Well, what's this hand doing? It's protecting the straight, but just shell up like that if you want. So Jake's hands are very low, and his right hand comes even further across. His left hand is now here, and his right hand is completely down by his side, as you can see. So if Anderson was a little smarter, like maybe Tommy could be, maybe Tommy is smart enough to expose those weaknesses, those gaps. But if Tommy was to throw a left uppercut, that'd be a problem. If Tommy was to throw a left uppercut or a low left hook, that'd be trouble. That'd be trouble. It'd catch Jake clean on the chin. And there, Anderson's pushing him down slightly, but Jake is so low that he's a dick sucking height for Anderson there. That you should never be that low. Why is he? You should never. That's no stability. He comes up and he's punching Anderson in the leg. He's literally punching Anderson in the leg. He's punched him in the left leg with his right hand. Now he's stood up. That's more of a stance you should be taking. If you're gonna bend down to box, do it in a way where you can immediately come up off of it. Don't bend down forwards. If you're bending fully down like that, you're doing nothing. How am I gonna generate power like that? I'm gonna come up like that, and it's gonna just not be with any hip rotation or activation at all. You need to drive with the legs. Everyone always talks about it. To throw a hard punch, you need to drive from the fucking base up. That's what you need to do. It's a fully kinesthetic movement, for God's sake. So, again, Jake, he's good, but this is why a lot of pro boxers are starting to give Jake props, but still have those little doubts, and why a lot of fans still think that Jake is beatable. And he is still beatable. He's got little holes in his game, but he's improving each time, and that's important. Jake should hopefully have worked on these little holes. And the difference here with Jake and Tommy, of course, is in Jake's corner he's got BJ Flores, an actual decent boxing coach. Again, Tommy, get a boxing coach, a proper one, established, well known, respected. Do wonders for you. We see a nice left there land from Anderson. Jake's face is a sight to behold there. But no, we see Anderson land there, a great left hook, but imagine it's followed up with a right behind it, like maybe Tommy could do. Again, this is all maybes and ifs, because Tommy, we don't know just how high his IQ is. It should be higher than Anderson's, and certainly higher than Jake's. So why are we all thinking it's so 50-50, if not slightly in Jake's favour? Is it because Jake usually cherry picks his fights? Partly. Is it because Tommy has fought no one very credible in the scene? Partly. Is it because Tommy has pulled out not once but twice? Partly. And is it because that everyone that Jake has fought, who people have said will win, and who everyone has doubted on Jake's behalf, he's beaten time and time again? Yeah. So in the end, what do I think of the fight? I think it's going to be much better than most people think. It's going to be much better than most people are anticipating. Both of the guys are around a similar skill level. Tommy, he has been boxing for a much longer time, but maybe isn't as naturally gifted and hasn't picked it up quite as quickly as Jake. Jake, on the other hand, is only fairly new to the scene. If we're talking how long he's trained, he hasn't trained pro boxer length of time, because they do it since they're kids. but he has put the time, dedication and effort in, and it's paid off. So all that being said, who do I think is going to win the fight? I think I'm going to lean towards Jake, and I think it's going to be by knockout. I don't know how many rounds they're going to go, but I'll say 4th or 5th round. I think Tommy will be caught slightly lacking, slightly complacent, thinking that he's maybe out of range of Jake slightly. Hands low, Jake comes in, lands one of these. I think it might be lights for Tommy. But if not, then I think Tommy might win on points. I think he might be able to keep it more technical, exploit certain dirty tricks of boxing that Jake might not know yet, might not fully utilise yet. I'm sure Tommy will have learned a lot from sparring with Tyson at points, seeing what Tyson does, emulating Tyson, what Tyson does to people in the ring. But we don't really see that from Tommy, and so I'm not sure. I'm not sure what style of Tommy we're going to get. I really don't know what style of Tommy we're going to get. Is it going to be a Tommy who tries to put it on Jake, or is it going to be a Tommy who tries to dance around Jake? I think the dancing around Jake, trying to outpoint him, works better. I think pity-pat shots, picking your shots, knowing when to cover up, knowing when to clinch, utilising the clinch. I think these are things that Tommy will be better at than Jake. And if he can do them for into the later rounds and avoid the power hands of Jake and the big shots that Jake tries to throw and land, then I think that Tommy might edge it on points. That's how I see the fight going down. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Please leave a like if you enjoyed, and please subscribe to the channel for more content like this. I'm really excited for this fight, and I think it's going to be a test for both guys, and we're finally going to get an understanding of where each of them is. Where is their level? Because I think if this is as close as a lot of people think that it will bring Tommy's level way down. Way down. But if Jake, on the inverse, if Jake makes it close, I think it'll bring Jake's stock up. Jake makes it look easy, it'll boost him massively. And if Tommy beats Jake easy, then, oh boy, what does Jake do from there? KSI? Will that still happen? I think so. And I would still like to see it, but it would lose something, wouldn't it? It would lose something. February 26th, 2 days before my birthday. I guess we're gonna find out. What a treat. See you next time.